Hey Dave, this is Kristen. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll throw this out because I know what my experience is when I use service learning in courses or community engagement or any variation thereof. But I'm thinking about it in terms of like as instructional designers, as we help other people and we kind of start nesting this concept in their brains and have people start thinking about it. So my one of my questions is what did you find the hardest to do, and this can be for anybody, the hardest to do when you were shifting this mindset? Because I heard several of you say, okay, so I came in thinking this way and I had to kind of rethink how I taught and rethink how I do these projects. What was the hardest shift for you, and how did you overcome that?
I don't mind going first on that one. So the hardest aspect of service learning for my course is that microbiology is a very content heavy course. So I found it challenging. Like, I don't have 5 minutes to spare normally when I'm covering the amount of material I need to cover in a semester. And so finding the time and making it work, I think, was the most challenging. And somehow I did, because I incorporated into their project is that they have to, let's say they chose STD Awareness Week, they have to write a paper on STDs and the different bacteria that cause them and how they're treated and why is this a public health burden and things like that. So it's really the science is incorporated into the service. So I was able to still have the content and the service learning, but I think that was when I started. I was like, how am I going to make this fit? Because I don't have any time to lose. So I think just being a content heavy course was my biggest challenge.
Hasha, Michelle, would you like to take a view on this one, or you want to ask for another question?
Well, I'll piggyback on what Jenny was just saying. I was able to sort of refocus the work that we do in English 102, where a great deal of their writing is, connected to the service learning. But another challenge that is still giving me a little bit of trouble is actually getting students to start their service learning work. And so we have weekly status updates, and I have to devote some class time to having them discuss their service learning work. And of course, they have required blog posts, but I find it the most difficult. Students just think they can push it off and push it off, and 15 hours is what I require. So just getting them to start, and once they start, they're invested, they're excited to do the work, but just making that initial contact. I have sort of a generic email that I send out once I know who the student is partnering with, but I like to be behind the student. I want the student to make the first contact. And so I think that still is just an ongoing challenge, but I found a few ways to address it.
Um,
Um,
is
I think of the two formally designated courses I've done, the first one, it was not hard to find time for service learning because I designed the course based around service learning. I designed the course based around students participating in the Spartanburg PD's Citizens Academy, and then added in the academic components. But the one that I'm doing now, it's the first time we've tried a section of senior seminar as service learning, and that required a lot more. And over the summer, I did the hybrid training and kind of picked up some more tools there, because that was very tricky to take. We really have a lot of autonomy in our courses, but those that are tied into assessment, there's a little less. So in senior seminar, there are things that I have to do, but at the same time, for what we're trying to do, for the content of it and the importance of it, I wanted students who had been through most of their coursework, and had taken in more about the system. And so I found ways to do that with some tools that I got from Kristen and Jennifer and Tony over the summer. But the time management was tricky. But, I think, and maybe this is the first gen student in me, I don't know. I think my biggest hurdle as a faculty member was realizing I can do that, and that counts, and it's a class, because it's way more fun. you know, and I think I maybe had this mental block, like, no, if it's a class, you're supposed to stand at the front and talk, you know. And that is really something that I had to move past before I could start really thinking about different things I can do. Now, I am blessed with a very innovative program and department. And when I say, hey, I have this weird idea and I want to use a section of our senior seminar to do it, or when I say, hey, I want a special topics course because I want to try this thing and I don't know if it's going to become a regular course, they're like, cool, do it, you know. That is something that not everybody, you know, I recognize that's a blessing to me, but yeah, to have other people in the department who are also like, hey, these are things that could really help us keep students and they could help our students get jobs. And you know, the class where we worked together with Spartanburg PD and they went to the Citizens Academy, there were only 12 students in that class. I kept it small because it had to be a small group logistically. There were only 12 students, and 3 of them ended up in sworn positions at Spartanburg PD, and 1 ended up going as a dispatcher at Spartanburg County. And that was just a direct bridge, you know, and there's so much about it that was fun. I think as a faculty member, I had to get past the place of this is what teaching is supposed to look like, because, you know, I was wrong, but I didn't know it. I hadn't had exposure to those other things yet.